broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hey everybody, welcome to AFTERBUZZ TV. I'm your host JJ Snyder, and this is a very special spotlight on Jasper Cole.
Hello, how are you?
Great.
Great
Thank you for joining. Great to meet you. I'm really excited to meet you.
Well, likewise. Thank you for having me on this spotlight show.
That's right. After all, you are Hollywood's bad guy.
Well, one of them.
Yes, and so much more.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, that's actually your slogan.
Yeah, somehow I got that Hollywood's bad guy.
Yes.
And it's been great. I take it proudly. I always say it took me many years to get on a list, the bad guy list. So
yes.
I'm happy. Just keep me on there. Somebody said the other day, well, don't you worry about being typecast? I was like, no, I'm very thankful to be typecast.
Absolutely.
Because in TV and film, actors out there, TV and film, you kind of do, you want to get pigeonholed because that is what they cast you as, and the casting directors get to know you that way. Yes. I always say we save the theater for stretching and
for exploring,
showing some range.
It is really interesting, and I know exactly where you're coming from. So, everyone in the world of casting in Hollywood is put in a type.
Right.
Right. You're the leading lady. You're the
character actress,
the best friend, the funny, goofy
the
gal,
fat girl. I don't.
Right.
You know what I mean.
Well, someo's got to be the fat girl.
Yeah. Let's take that word. There's nothing wrong with that word.
No, there's not
at all.
Of course,
we're both thin.
So. Well, as long as as long as there's a role.
We're both thin, so it's easy to say.
Oh my God.
Oh no. Anyway, no, you're right though. They do. You want to. I feel like I wasted many years thinking I could play all these different parts.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And then that's my advice to young actors is sort of zero in on your type. If you can do that early on and own it and be happy about it, like not everyone's a leading lady.
Embrace it.
Like you may be the prettiest girl in your hometown.
Yep.
Or the best looking guy in your hometown,
yes.
but you're not Hollywood pretty or Hollywood hot.
Right.
Which is not, that's okay.
This is a super interesting conversation. Now, we should let people know, too, I think this is a great time to let people know that you have played a bad guy.
Yes.
Or some version of a bad guy in over 120 films.
Wow.
TV shows.
Is that right?
Commercials.
I'm old.
Oh, we have a photo.
Oh, MacGruber.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, I love MacGruber.
So,
that was a big break for me. I mean, everything's a break. You know what I mean? In the journey, we have little breaks, but in 2009, that was a big break for me. That sort of put me into. I was able to go in for bigger studio pictures.
I believe it.
Yeah,
that was a big film. Now that was Will Forte, Kristin Wiig,
right before Bridesmaids. I mean, she was already
really
big on SNL.
Yeah.
But I got to play Val Kilmer, one of Val Kilmer's sidekicks, and that was a great deal to work with him.
Your character's
Plachette.
name was.
Yeah.
Now, it has to be interesting to people watching this right now. They can see that, I mean, you do walk in here as kind of a badass, but that takes it to a whole other level.
Yeah, that's all the illusion right there.
Wow.
Of Hollywood.
Oh, I love this too. Now, you played a lot
Fandango.
of cowboys.
Yeah, thank God I also finally broke into the cowboy genre. Because I'm from Georgia, I grew up in the South.
Yeah.
And so, but that was Fandango, and I also did a Boston Pizza cowboy, and a couple of TV pilots as a cowboy. But I don't know if you're too young to remember Gunsmoke. But I'm sort of like Festus. Like, I'm the cowboy, but I'm sort of the sidekick cowboy.
Yeah, okay.
Either I'm the Napoleon complex one that thinks he's tough and gets beat up, or I'm sort of the vulnerable cowboy, that's sort of funny and they throw down on the ground.
Like a sensitive cowboy?
Yeah, a little bit. Although he was supposed to be tough.
You look pretty tough in there.
Yeah, it was funny though because he looks tough, and then it's the puppet is his brother. And he's actually the tougher brother. So this guy is sort of the pussy. Excuse me.
Oh, really?
Sort of the weak one. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, funny. Okay, and now we have another photo here while we're doing photos. Speaking of
God,
tough.
This is your life.
Whoa.
Wow.
I just wanted to show your guns.
Oh, thank you.
I have to be honest with
well,
you.
It's always it's the good light. It's good lighting. Shout out to David Laporte Photography. He's been doing my headshots for 25 years.
Wow.
We actually met. He was an actor, and we had the same manager 25 years ago. And he came to his senses and quit acting. Wish we had. No, I'm kidding. And he's an amazing photographer.
Well, so I'm interested in your journey as an actor. You mentioned a few moments ago that you wasted a lot of time thinking that you could play parts that maybe you weren't right for?
Yeah, I mean, I guess nothing's a waste, because when you look back, it's, you know what I mean? I think I should have enjoyed the journey a little more, because I think when I was in my 20s, I moved here at 23, I was so obsessed with career, and it was like, I thought I knew what it was going to look like. I thought it was going to be on a sitcom, because I had done stand-up comedy, and comedy was my thing. And so it's funny, because I started, if you go through my IMDb, I'm very fortunate. I have worked a lot, but in the beginning they were bit parts and small parts, and it was I could play really young, because I looked younger for a long time. So it was the college friend or whatever. And then when I turned 40, honestly, my whole face changed. It's like everything just changed.
Isn't that funny how that happens?
Yeah. And I thought, well, I'll just have to make lemonade out of lemons, because I made a conscious choice to grow the beard, grow the hair, and I had to sort of reintroduce myself to casting people who had known me for 20 years. I guess.
Up until that point, you weren't playing the bad guy,
no,
the
I was just sort
killer,
of in that boring category of like, and it's the most competitive age for guys 25 to 40 that are good looking, and they're just sort of, I fell through the cracks. Like, I wasn't leading man, and I wasn't John Goodman, fat or character yet. So I was sort of,
again with the fat reference.
Yeah, I know.
Really, Jasper.
I'm not a fat shamer at all. So I just think, sometimes I think, as I get older, I thought I should, just let it all go. That might be my next phase. Just get really heavy and be that really play the mob bosses and all that stuff, because it's a lot of work to have to stay in shape.
Yes, but you do. Okay, now from this photo that we had up of your arms, I am curious. I mean, those are some guns. So what do you do to keep up? I mean, this fits into your roles. This is important.
That's why
that you have these arms.
I'm really not one of those guys who likes to parade around with no clothes on. I'm not a body person.
Yes.
But for my career, here's the thing. I was a trainer for many years back before I moved to LA. So I've been training. Yeah. And what I've learned through the years is we overtrain. I did. I overtrained. So I work out 1 to 2 days a week with weights. But I do stuff at home, pull-ups and stuff. But the key thing is I hike every day. But for small body parts like the arms, they don't need to be trained that much. I had to learn that the hard way. And the beauty of getting older, folks, I don't know which camera, is as you get older, it's the only thing good about it, your muscles have a memory. So once you have muscle, it gets better, and you don't have to work as hard on it. So it's the only good thing about it. But you don't have to work as hard in the gym.
Yes, you establish a nice, good base.
Yeah.
See, that's another reason why I'm looking forward to getting older.
Right.
I think that's something positive coming out of this interview.
Yeah. And good night. Thank you.
All right, we got one more photo. Because... Well, I wanted to show this. This is from your radio show.
Yes.
There's a little glare off your forehead. I don't think anyone would notice that, Jasper.
From that. Yes, right.
But this is one-on-one with Jasper Cole. So you are very at home with these headphones in front of this mic, because you actually have a radio show of your own.
Yeah, I do. Well, let's see. 4 years ago, I started a show called On the Set with Jasper Cole, which was every Friday, and then because I got busy, we just did it once a month on Sundays at ubnradiotv.com. That was all entertainment, because really that's sort of my background, is all entertainment. I'm also a manager and a producer, so I've sort of done all these things.
Wow.
But after doing that for 4 years, iTunes, we started thinking about, let's try something a little more substantive. So I do politics and hot topics and pop culture. It's interesting, though. I've done 3 months of these new shows now, every Wednesday, 5 to 6. And the top rated shows so far are still the pop culture shows and the entertainment shows. So it's
really?
I mean, I love doing all the others, but it's just interesting how it keeps, people just really want to talk shallow shit.
Oh, I know. Well, I mean, and I'm victim to that somewhat.
Yeah.
I mean, because I Googled Lamar Odom last night, because
Right.
I just wanted to like escape into this story.
Right.
But have you been reading up on that story?
Yeah,
at
I mean,
all?
I'm a junkie to all that. You know,
Yeah.
I always say I go from CNN to Wendy Williams.
Yes,
So, you know,
right,
but only usually
right.
the opening of Wendy, because I need just to get...
That's all
I
you
need to-
can handle.
You know, I'm also addicted to the Real Housewives. Look, I'm one of the few guys that admits he watches the Real Housewives, every one of them. So
Every one of them.
I didn't do
You must have a
Washington.
favorite.
Well, I went to high school with Phaedra and Nene in Athens, Georgia. So I first
Wow.
started watching. It's funny. I went to high school with both of them, but they're like 6 years younger than me now.
Oh, I wonder how they're
amazing.
younger.
Isn't that amazing?
You must have gotten older, and they didn't.
We had our 30th high school reunion recently, and they didn't show up. But no, so I do. I
That's
watched
hilarious.
them. I watched the Housewives.
What were
shows.
they like in high school?
Oh well, Phaedra was exactly what you see.
Okay.
Her parents were both ministers, or at least one. Nene, who was not Nene back then, she was nothing like that. No, she was very nothing like that. So I give her
Okay.
full props because she totally. Now you want to talk about reinventing yourself?
Yes.
She did, and it's interesting because I think, and you're an actress, I think that they don't get credit for being improv actors. You know, we all know reality. It's when they say it's scripted, it's not scripted, but it's just like a Curb Your Enthusiasm. They set up the scene. They say, we're going to film today and you're going to be at the table and she may talk some shit about your husband or whatever. But the really good ones like Nene and Teresa and Bethany, those are really good improv actors. You know, people go to the Groundlings and they
Absolutely.
pay a lot of money for improv. So big props to the improv people.
Absolutely. That's absolutely true. And
Yeah.
speaking of Groundlings improv people,
Yes.
you are on Brooklyn Nine-Nine tonight. And
Yes.
I believe that your director, if I saw this correctly, was Michael McDonald,
I fanned out a little bit on that.
who was my teacher
Oh.
at the Groundlings.
Oh my God. He's
Yes.
the greatest guy.
He's a fantastic guy.
I didn't even know who the director was till I got there. I mean, I really didn't. I don't remember seeing it on anything. So I was a huge Mad TV fan.
Yes, he really exploded on Mad TV.
I mean, just all
Stewart.
that.
Oh my
God.
The
And
Stewart?
Mo Collins, who played his mother. But no,
Yes.
so I was I mean, as much as I was thrilled to work on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I really was.
Yeah.
Because I'm a huge Saturday Night Live fan. So when Andy, you know the whole thing. But when because Michael, you know, like all of us, he's got a little gray now. He's a little bit older, and I hadn't seen him since. So when the director came up to introduce himself on the set, I was like, okay, Michael McDonald. Oh, and then I had to really pull it
Michael
down. I had to like
McDonald, yeah.
calm it down for a second because I was like, Jasper, seriously, pull it together. Yeah.
Tell me about the episode. It's named after your character.
I know,
right?
it's called the Oolong
Oolong
Slayer, and I didn't know. Oolong is a form of tea, and I play a serial killer once again on a comedy.
How do you get these
I
parts?
don't know, but luckily it's a comedy. But he's a serial killer who, after every murder, he sets up a very intricate tea party, and that's been his sort of calling card.
Kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Does
And
he
so-
invite anybody? Not with the dead people.
No, and you'll see in the episode, they're tracking me. I sort of come in toward the middle to the end because they talk about me, they're trying to find me, and then they find me finally.
Okay.
But just Andy and Andre, Holt and Jake.
Okay.
So I got to work with the two of them, and they're my two favorites.
Let's hear about them.
Yeah.
What are they like?
Well, it's interesting because, you know, it happens with a lot of comedians. You know, Andy's very low key,
Totally.
very quiet, you know, and Andre's very quiet too, but the nicest guys. Kind of like Andre wore his headphones and his music. And, you know, I've been doing this for so many years that I've learned everybody's different.
Yes.
But I'm always amazed how many comedians are just very low key. Not on. He's not on all the time.
I will confirm that. So from interviewing people on red carpets, and Steve Martin is someone who sticks out.
He's so
You
smart,
just
too.
can't assume you know what someone's going to be like. And Steve Martin, I was like, "Hey, Steve
Wild
Martin,
and crazy guy.
What's up? Nice to meet you." Well, it wasn't quite that
You didn't
big,
go that
but I
far.
felt that, yeah.
Inside.
And I was expecting like he was going to respond in that way in our interview, and he was absolutely subdued and very sophisticated, and I get it. I think that it happens so often with comedians, but they're like, I'm not on. When I'm on, I'm on. But
when
right
you're
now, I'm
paying
not.
me to be on,
Yes, then I'll be on.
That kind of goes into that whole Robin Williams depressive thing too. Not that all comedians are that way, but there's a long history of that with Jim Carrey's people who are just like, because if you think about it, if you're that on when you're on camera, there's got to be a downside. Because thank God they can't be that way all the time. Who could live with that?
Yes. I still can't believe we lost Robin Williams. I think that we lost, but that Robin Williams is gone.
I know. It's weird.
It's kind of hard to believe.
I was at a restaurant just the other night, and as that happens in LA, there was a famous sitcom actor behind me with their partner or whatever, and then there was another actress from the same show with her husband.
Come on.
Well, I won't say this, but just it's interesting because the two actors were so quiet and so low key, and their partners were so loud and obnoxious that it was to the point where people were literally turning around like, "Are you serious?" So again, it's that balance of you couldn't have two people on all the time, but most people would expect that the two actors would be on.
Yeah, that's interesting.
We're all crazy. That's what I'm saying. Kind of, a little bit.
Okay, so you grew up down south and you came to LA when you were about 23 to pursue acting.
Yeah, I went to the Alliance Theater in Atlanta, Georgia to study theater and acting, whatever, because I grew up in Athens, which is an hour from Atlanta. Never acted in high school, youngest of 4 boys, played sports, the whole thing. It was not really cool to be an actor back then.
Yep.
I would sneak into the theater department though and watch, and I kind of wanted to be.
Oh, yeah.
So when I finally got out of high school, I went to Atlanta. I did college for 2 years, and then I went to Atlanta, and I met a girl, Becky Kennedy, and we co-wrote a play called Willow Springs Now, and we co-starred in it, and it was like a spoof of a southern, just a white trash cable access talk show, basically. And,
I love it.
And so it's called Willow Springs Now, Buck and Fayeanne, and we were it's interesting. We were two
Let's do
hosts.
it right now.
Oh, Buck was so crazy, and we did it in Atlanta, and it got a little momentum, a little following.
Fun.
And then of course we met this producer from LA who said, well, if you ever come to LA, look me up. Well, if you tell a 23-year-old, literally like 2 weeks later,
planted the seed.
Car was packed like the Beverly Clampetts, the Hillbillies, Georgia Tag, and out we came, and we knocked on the Burbage Theater in Century City Playhouse in West LA, and I remember him looking at us like, "You're here?" And I was like, "Hey, you said, and we're here, and we got our little backdrop." And so anyway, there was a play called.
You had your backdrop with you?
We had our backdrop.
Have really backdrop, cute, Jasper.
Real travel. See, we've come a long way since what we had, but there was a long running play called Bleacher Bums, about a baseball team at the Century City Playhouse, and he said, "Look, kid, you can go on late night after Bleacher Bums, and we'll see how it goes. So if you buy a ticket to Bleacher Bums and you want it, they can pay $10 more to see your show." And it was just an hour. So every week Becky and I wrote a new episode.
Wow.
And we had our little guests that were from Willow Springs.
Yeah.
But then what started to happen is like George Carlin came, and we started getting a little bit of a buzz about the show, and so we had celebrities start coming, and long story short, it was the very beginning of Fox television. The first season, first year, Barry Dillard had it, and Joan Rivers had her talk show. And Kevin Wendell, who was an executive there, came to see the show. This almost seems like a dream now. Came to see our little play and said, if you could write this into a TV pilot, I'd like to pitch it at Fox. And so we did. We didn't know what we were doing.
This is unbelievable.
I know. And see, I kind of thought
great.
This is how...
This is just going to...
Because remember, I wanted a sitcom. But no, what happened was we went through the whole gamut, and we did pitch it, and we had the meetings, and it didn't go anywhere. But I got an agent, I got a manager, and I just stayed, and I was a temp at Ogilvy and Mather Advertising for 4 years.
Yes.
I was the permanent
big advertising
I was
agency.
The permanent receptionist who was like taking calls on the side and doing my own stuff on the side. But they were so great because they let me go to auditions and come back, and
nice.
So for 4 years I did that, and then I booked my first pilot, and I thought, well, I think I made enough money like maybe to live for a year back then. So I just sort of quit my job and threw it out to the world, and I was able to get. Really, commercials were my big blessing.
Let's talk about commercials.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people kind of, when they look at your bio, what films was he in, what TV shows, and you've been on so many TV shows, by the way.
Thank you.
But commercials for an actor can be a great thing. And explain to me why.
Well, I call it mailbox money. because you work a day, you might work 2 days, but generally you work a day. Now really, and I'm going to sound old when I keep saying back in the day, but really like in the 80s and 90s, early 2000s, the contracts were even different than you could get. If you got a national, you could bank it. You could do really well. In the last 10 years, maybe, producers have made deals with the advertisers where they know it's only going to run cable and you're not going to get the network runs like you used to. And
can you give me an example, like even back around the year 2000, like if you got a national commercial, let's say a toothpaste commercial, and it did really well. What are we talking?
Well, I mean, if it could run a year, you could make 80 to 100,000.
Wow.
I remember back at one time in the 90s, I had a Jaguar commercial. I made about $100,000. Yeah, I mean, this is before taxes and all that stuff. But still, I mean, when you're a struggling actor, you know what I mean? That's fantastic.
What did you do in the Jaguar commercial? Do you remember? Were you driving?
I was driving. Yes, I was a young husband who had given the Jaguar to his wife for Christmas.
Nice husband.
And I drove it. All I did is drive it into the scene. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
People take these. I'm just going to say now, these commercial workshops and stuff.
Yes.
I don't know. I took them.
Okay, $250. You go one night a week for 6 weeks
and do what?
And learn how to do commercials.
Slate your name, because truthfully, in the last 10 years, for sure, if you watch commercials, it's all real people.
Right.
When I say real, I mean real looking people, not glamorous, not unless you're doing like a cosmetics. And now let's face it, the cosmetics are all stars who are doing them.
Oh yes.
But see, like for instance, you have the great all-American. Because I'm also a manager. See, I'm already typing. But you have the great like all-American girl. You're like the perfect commercial type because you can play the sister, the young mother, the teacher, the banker.
What about the angry girl?
No, see,
I'm just kidding.
You can't.
No, I confirmed with. I had a sit down with my commercial agent actually on Friday, this last Friday, and she said the same thing to me. She said, "I'm going to give you a commercial acting class right now. You don't even need to go. Everything is real right now." Yeah. Meaning that you're not trying to sell something.
You're actually doing nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
which can be hard if you're someone who grew up in the theater, or for
especially
all the
theater,
the young actors out there who are watching,
because they think you want to perform. But this is key in television in general. It's a big. It was hard for me coming from theater. Is you pretty much they won't. I mean, it is so small that I think on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I remember thinking, if I go any smaller, I won't be breathing. Like, do you want a pulse or what do you want? Because but you learn over time, the camera, it's right here. And I'll ask when I go in for taped auditions now, I'll say, where are you shooting me? I've gotten confident to say that. Are you tight? Where are you? Because it makes a difference. But yeah, I had to learn coming from the theater to bring it down.
Yes.
And that's why, and a lot of the principal commercial stuff, we don't even have lines anymore. We're just principals that are like, I just had a Rob Lowe DirecTV commercial that ran, thank God.
I saw the photo.
And I'm just the guy sitting on the bus behind. There were 4 principals. I mean, basically you're basically an extra, but you're hired as a principal. But and I mean, that was 2 auditions, a callback. And we did nothing in the audition that ended up being in that spot. A lot of times you go in and you don't know they're doing like multiple spots. So you just,
So much of this job is driving to and from auditions.
We are professional auditioners. Yeah. That's what we are. And I used to have, I have this thing where I started telling myself, I'm actually shooting today. I'm not auditioning. Especially when there's a camera. I think, you know what? I'm going in, I'm filming it. They just probably not using it, But that's how I sort of train my mind. It's not an audition. It's a job today, and they just went a different way. They cut me, which happens also. Even like tonight when I promote something like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I always say I don't know what's left in it. I love doing it because when you're just a co-star or a guest star, it's about the stars. So you don't know what coverage they're going to take. You could be saying your line, and they cut to Andy's reaction, not watching me say the line. So, all actors out there know that. But
now, I'm sure it's happened in your career because you have a long career. And if you guys haven't looked Jasper up on IMDb, look him up because you'll go, oh, he was in that. Oh, he was in that. Did you do an episode of Married with Children?
That was one of my early jobs. I played one of Kelly's boyfriends in high school. See, I was playing high school then.
You played one of Kelly's boyfriends?
Yeah, I just had one.
Lucky.
I just go to the door and to pick her up, and the father slams the door in my face. It was an episode where he was rejecting any boyfriend that came to the door, and so it was just one of those. But again, to be on that set, to work with them, and that was
Christina Applegate, right?
And that was right in that time when they had gotten a lot of controversy about an episode called The Period Piece.
Oh.
Where they talked about menstrual cycles and stuff like that. So there was
and
Al Gore's wife, Tippy, was boycotting the show. There was a lot of press around it.
Oh, it got political.
And I was like, oh, this is great. Yeah. So, yeah, it was fun. I didn't take it for granted. I never took it for granted back then, but I didn't always enjoy the journey because you just thought, well, you also think it's just going to happen forever like that. Like it's going to be this easy.
Mm-hmm. And there's been jobs.
Yeah, and there's been periods, and when you look on someone's IMDb, it's great if you see these credits, but there may have been 8 months in between.
Yes.
Where there was no work.
So how do you deal with these? How do you deal with, what if you go to drive to 3 auditions and you don't get the job? What if you go film a movie for 3 weeks and you get all but cut out of the movie?
Well, even in MacGruber, MacGruber, we worked 3 weeks on that movie.
Yes.
And I was blessed to stay in it, but I'm one of the principals in it. And love Val Kilmer, love you, Val. But Val loved to improvise, and Val didn't like to stick to the script, and he had his own ideas of what was funny. So in a lot of our scenes that bless his heart. A lot of our scenes that weren't in there.
I know what that means to a Southerner.
Yeah, bless his heart. But so that things get cut.
Yeah.
Because I'm at the point now. I'm all about the paycheck and the pension.
Okay.
I'm working toward the pension at this point. But I just look at it as the experience of doing the job, getting the credit.
Okay.
Working with those people, having that casting director like you. And that's the other thing, you build these casting people, this. The same ones will keep bringing you back. And I mean, they're like the show, The Shield back in the day. I think I went in 19 times, never booked. But then a couple seasons after that, there was a show called The Forgotten with Christian Slater. Same casting people, I finally booked. And like Wendy Weidman and Rebecca Mangieri, they do Secrets and Lies, and like I went in the other day. When you go in with these casting people that like you and they love your work, it's not up to them anymore anyway. It's the producers.
Right. So the casting people bring you in. They often put you on tape.
That's all they can do.
And they whittle it down to a select group.
That's it. A lot of people don't know we don't even always make the tape, after the auditions. I mean, good people have to be cut off the tape because the producers tell them we only want to see 10 people. We only have time for... So, and I think at this point in my career, I've got my group of guys. We're, I mean, not always, but there's 10 of us usually that show up. Any 10 of us can do that part. It's just a matter, do they want the long hair and the beard? Do they want my friend Andy who has red hair? Or, it's so, I want actors
You're talking about a room full of Hollywood bad guys,
exactly.
Right?
And we're so supportive.
Yes, there's a group of you.
And we're all such buddies and good friends because we're not really competing with each other.
Yeah.
I think when you're not working, when you first start working, you think you're competing with everybody.
Yes.
As you have had a career and you have credits, then you realize I do what I do, you do what you do. But I mean, it's
you might like chicken, you might like steak.
That's what it is. Yeah. I mean, we go in for commercials the same way. It's really so much about a look, about a look, and that's not. So I would say to actors, you just do your best job. That's all you can do because the producers will remember you for another spot.
And I think the overall theme of what's coming out of today's conversation is like embrace how you look.
Yes.
Right?
The very thing that someone's telling you to like as a manager when I meet people, and it doesn't have to be young actors, just veterans. I have mostly veterans. The very thing that people are telling you to change, that's probably going to be the one thing that's going to make you unique down the line.
Yes.
If you've got a weird eye, I guarantee you that eye, you're going to be the guy that's going to book the job because who else had that walled eye like you had? Yeah.
How do you stand out? When you come to Hollywood I came from Washington State. You came from Georgia. There's thousands of people who come to Hollywood, and you get called in for whatever part you are, and then you're in a room, and there's 25 people who look just like you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you stand out? Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, and I think the key is you don't really have to try to stand out. I think that's what I think we try too hard to stand out. Like I've been in commercial auditions recently, and occasionally they'll bring you in 4 or 5 people. I mean, sometimes you go in just once, but you'll stand on the slate line and they'll ask you to say your name, and inevitably there's that guy that's like, "Hey, John Jones, and I'm glad to be here." And I'm thinking, okay, you need to bring it down because seriously, dude. Or then they got to throw that funny little thing. You know what I'm saying, JJ?
I know.
There's probably that one girl that's like, "Hi," and then she throws in something about her dressed or something. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I just find, because being a manager, I talk to people on the casters on the other side as well, and that's the other thing. But every casting director is different. They all have their thing. But in general, just be yourself. Don't be fake, because the camera doesn't lie. You know that it can pick up on anything that's not authentic, and less is more on TV and film. I think less is more.
That is an excellent lesson. This has been a great interview for young actors, actually.
I didn't mean to do. I have this thing now in my career. Like I want to pay it forward.
Yeah.
And just sort of give my advice of what worked for me.
I think it's nice to give people shortcuts too. If they can kind of hear some of the points you made today, it's great shortcuts.
And you take what works for you or whatever. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yes. Well, we are very excited to see you tonight on Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Thank you. Yes. 8:30 Fox.
8:30 on Fox.
It's the Oolong Slayer.
The Oolong Slayer. I can't wait to see you.
There's two other storylines that are very funny in it also.
Is that?
Yeah.
You haven't seen the whole episode yet,
I haven't seen anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So it's a surprise to you, too.
Right.
Yes. Do you ever have viewing parties when you're on
No, because,
shows?
Honestly, back in the day when you would be cut out of things, there were a couple of times I actually had parties and I was cut out.
Oh.
Wah, wah. I don't think I can be cut out of this because when your character's in the title.
Yes.
Come on now, please.
Yes.
But, I like to TiVo it and then watch it later. After maybe a few people have chimed in on what it came out at, how was it?
Yeah, you were great.
Jasper,
you were in
we
a
saw
bunch
the side
of
of your head, or something. Yeah.
Well, I will be tuning in, so maybe I'll tweet you and let you know how it was.
Please do.
Yes. And tell people you're real alive on the radio. You're alive, Jasper, and on Twitter.
Yeah, well, you can on Twitter.
Tell people where to get a hold of you.
Yeah, Jasper Cole Says is my Twitter. The One-on-One J Cole is the radio TV show every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Pacific, and we're live at ubnradio.com, and then we go on iTunes and Stitcher and Spreaker and I don't know, whatever, pigeons pick it up and carry it.
Wow, it's everywhere.
Yeah, and Facebook. I'm on Facebook, Jasper Cole, and One-on-One with Jasper Cole. One-on-One with Jasper Cole.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining us, and thank you guys for watching, whether it be on AfterBuzzTV.com or on our YouTube page. Thank you for listening on iTunes and SoundCloud. We appreciate a thumbs up. Jasper Cole appreciates a thumbs up.
Yes, I do. Thank
you.
Don't you? Yes.
It never hurts to get a good thumbs up. Thank you guys for joining us. Take care.
Bye-bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.